Hello, everybody, and welcome to Noel the Red Devil. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. I don't think I need the two earphones actually. But welcome. We're here to discuss, and I've got lots of notes here. We're here to discuss Erik Ten Hag's joint press conference for the Wrexham and Real Madrid game. Sorry, no leg wrong. No, I don't. For the Wrexham Real Madrid game. Funny enough, though, there wasn't too much talk about the Real Madrid game. The American journalists seem to be more focused on traveling to America, what it means for a club like Manchester United. So I think we'll get that out of the way because they were most of the American journalists actually asked the same question. I mean, Erik Ten Hag, he was laughing it off, but I think it was 4 times he was asked the same question. And by the time we got to the Real Madrid questions, it was just 2 questions because the press conference ended. But we do have a lot to get into. And as I said, I've actually taken this seriously and I've taken a load of notes. So we'll start with the first few notes that I took from the press conference. So he was asked about Ahmad because for anybody that didn't know, Ahmad was injured in Friday's game. But Erik Ten Hag expects Ahmad to be back in training tomorrow with the squad and he is okay. So some good news there for Manchester United fans. Because Ahmad for Sunderland was very good, and there's a lot of United fans that think that he should get his chance at United, and we will get into that and the academy players because Erik Ten Hag did say some interesting things. He got Scottish Davros and friends wrestle with pop culture in the chat. He says, "Hey man, on board," so I thought I'd pop in. Welcome. Also, Avram Glazer was at Friday's game, and he was asked by journalists if himself and Avram had a chat. He says that he's in contact with the Glazers all the time, and no, he didn't meet him at Friday's game. But Avram Glazer, again, I will give it to him at least. He seems to be the only Glazer family member that's making some sort of attempt to show up for some of their games. But let's be honest, he's had years to do that, and it's only seems to be all of a sudden. But he did say, the manager, is that he is in regular contact and can contact them any time. Now, as I said, the American journalist, so we get this out of the way. So this question was asked several times. He was asked about traveling, and he said that you have to get the balance right. And he says that they've planned this for months because he was asked about, we have a game against Wrexham and then the next day we have a game against Real Madrid. And then that happens again near the end of pre-season. And he said this is being planned. There's basically 2 squads out there, the academy squad and the first team squad, but they're integrated together. But what will happen for the Wrexham game is that academy players with a mix of experience will play against Wrexham. He will stay there with the team while the first team squad travels to, I think it's Houston, to the Real Madrid game. So he'll stay behind with the academy players and the academy manager and all of that. They will then play the game against Wrexham and then they'll all board a flight and meet up with the first team squad. But he did say that the academy players will have a big role to play. He also suggested that some of these academy players may break through the first team squad. He says every academy player there has deserved to be on the tour. So that was nice to hear from the manager. He also spoke about Johnny Evans, and that's the next one. We've already finished that one. So he spoke about Johnny Evans. Where's the Johnny Evans stuff? Because I want to do that first. Yeah, he was asked what Johnny Evans's impact was, and he says he said that there was multiple goals here. It was for Johnny Evans to get fit, but it was also good education, and Johnny Evans will feature in the Wrexham game with the kids. He said it's good education. He also said that that Johnny's experience and the experience of playing in a full stadium will benefit the youth squad. It will be a good education for them, and obviously it will decide which of these young players actually have the mettle to take that leap from the academy to the first team squad. But he also talked about Bruno Fernandes, which I thought was a very interesting conversation, because he said Bruno's job was to basically implement his tactics on the field, but Bruno can't do it on his own, and he needs leaders out there in the squad to help Bruno implement his plan on the field. He also said Bruno, as captain, a great individual. It was an easy choice. Also, his intelligence on and off the ball, his experience. He spoke about how Bruno is basically a likable person in the dressing room. The players respect him, but he did emphasize, and he has this season emphasized it a lot, that he wants a lot of leaders in the team. And yes, while Bruno is his captain, and basically he said that Bruno, they shared the same philosophy. So Bruno wants to win. Bruno wants to win every game just like the manager does. And that's why I think he made him captain. But again, he said it, the academy players with the first team player, it's all an experience. This has been planned months in advance. He's obviously going to see how the youth do out there. He's going to, and we'll get to the transfers now in a minute, because he did say some very interesting things. But the main point is that it was good to have the squad that he has over there, because he can implement his rules, implement his strategy, implement his philosophy. And, he spoke about, Mason Mount adding to that. What he said is because we were talking about the lack of goals, because I will get into it. We're going to talk about Jadon Sancho and Rashford now in a minute. But the bottom line is that the manager has said, from the academy players to the senior players, he takes the responsibility. He oversees training. He's the one that implements his ideals, his strategy, as I said, into the academy players as well. So the academy players are playing the Ten Hag way, just like the senior team is trying to play the Ten Hag way. He says that he's taking complete control of everything behind the scenes in the club, basically, and he's the one that's implementing the style of play for the academy players, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And that's what we need from our first team manager. The academy manager needs to understand Erik Ten Hag's philosophy and needs to implement that philosophy. So having them over there in America is obviously he's there then directly to implement what he wants. And as you've seen that photograph where he was talking to all the academy players, that was him laying down the law, laying down what he expects from all of these players. But he did say that the players that he had there over in America deserved to be there. And I think that's a credit to our academy and how well the academy is actually doing. People do give out and say our academy isn't producing players. It has produced players, and it still is producing players. But with a world-class manager like Erik Ten Hag, what will happen is he'll weed out the players, the academy players that he doesn't think can cut it. And that is hard for some of these academy players, because to be told by your manager that, look, you have to go elsewhere because I don't think you're up to the job here, would be hard for any youth player to handle. But anyway, let's get on to Jadon Sancho, because he was asked about Jadon Sancho. He was asked about playing Jadon Sancho in the false 9. He did say that he plays well in central positions, and he's very happy with him, but he can also play out wide. I just think personally that this is Erik Ten Hag, just obviously playing with a false 9 at the moment, because Anthony Martial, which we will get onto in a few minutes, is injured at the moment, or is injury prone, I should say, not injured at the moment, but injury prone, and we haven't got the Highland deal done yet. But I suspect that's the reason why he's playing Jadon Sancho in the false 9. I don't believe Jadon Sancho is going to be playing there in the false 9. And if you look at the riches that we actually have out on the wings, I find it very hard to see where Jadon Sancho is going to fit into this team. So again, the discussion around Jadon Sancho, should he be given another season at Manchester United, or should he be sold, will be a fan debate that's still had this season. I do hope, he scored a lovely goal, don't get me wrong. But again, I don't see him personally as a false 9. I don't think he can cut it at Manchester United. That's just my personal opinion. But, he says that he likes players that run in from behind. And that's exactly what happened for Jadon Sancho's goal. He got a nice ball, and he ran in behind, and he took on his man. And, instead of squaring the ball, which, he didn't do, he actually decided to blast it. And it went in. In fairness, it did go in. But, that's very easily missed in the Premier League. And Garnacho's in the middle of the box. You square it and it's an easy goal. But, I don't see Jadon Sancho as a number 9. But let's talk about our striker that we do have, and that's Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial apparently is back in training now. But the manager again said the same things that he said last season. We have to try keep him fit. He has to want it, all of the usual stuff. I suspect this is why he brought in the new doctor, the doctor that came from Arsenal and is now heading up their medical team. I think they're going to try to do something different with Anthony Martial. See, here's the problem with Anthony Martial, folks. See, a lot of fans are saying, let's sell Anthony Martial. That's all well and good and saying sell Anthony Martial, right? But he's not going to pass a medical. That's the bottom line. He will break down during a medical test with a club, and then the deal would be off. So I think as all United fans have said, we know that Anthony Martial, there's a great player in there. Unfortunately, he never gets enough run of games to get that momentum going so we could see the best of him, right? And we're not going to be able to sell him. That's the problem. He's not going to pass a medical. So we're going to keep him. And I think that's why we're going for Highland only. There is rumours that we might go for Harry Kane the last few days of the transfer window. We'll see if that actually happens. And if that does happen, then Anthony Martial's time is done at United. What will probably happen is they'll try to keep him fit until the winter. See if anybody pops in for him. If nobody pops in for him, then obviously they'll wait to the summer. But what they'll do is they'll play him in games, but he won't play the majority of games. They'll try to keep him fit, and then hopefully then after a season under him, injury free, then maybe then we can sell him and get him off our books. But It will be sad because he scored on his debut, and I remember that debut goal, and I remember the skill, and I just remember looking, we just bought a beautiful player there, and he has scored some goals for us, but injuries is where we are with that man, and it's sad. It's sad because I think he'd be coming into his prime now, but because he's been injured so long, I don't know if we can get the best out of Anthony Martial. Um, but he does believe that Anthony Martial can do a job for us during the season with all the competitions that we're in. That could be the case. So I don't know. I mean, we can't sell him. It's another Phil Jones situation. He's on high wages as well. Look, Anthony Martial's not the type of player. Yet some people will criticise he walks around. That has been the case, But I think under Ten Hag he has tried, but he's just unfortunately broke down with injury. But a fit Anthony Martial on a run of games can be a dangerous Anthony Martial. Let's hope. Look, we'll see where it goes, but I don't see us selling him. But if we can keep him fit, until at least the winter transfer window, or maybe some club will take that risk with him. But I don't see him passing that medical, and that's the issue that I have. He was asked about Kylian Mbappe. Let's get this absolute stupid rumor out of the way. So it's being reported by multiple newspapers, multiple fan accounts out there, some with Qatari links, saying that there's someone very powerful trying to get Kylian Mbappe to Manchester United. Right? Now, yesterday, if you're watching Sky Sports News, absolutely shocking news was broken. And it is shocking news, got to be honest. So, Cristiano Ronaldo's team has made a bid of 300 million for Kylian Mbappe. Now, obviously, we'll all see if Kylian Mbappe is a money merchant or a mercenary, as we call it, but I doubt it. I think this is PSG still trying to force the issue with this contract that they want them to sign, so they'll accept the bid of Ronaldo's team to kind of like then obviously Kylian can reject it. But there is another rumor is that PSG are willing to loan Kylian Mbappe. Now, I don't know how that works because he's on the last year of his contract. So if you loan him out, but the loan deal stipulates that you have to buy at the end of next season, then it could work. Now, there's only one club at the moment that can make that deal work, and that's Real Madrid. Now, unless Manchester United or the Glazers, which I'm going to talk about now, this is a nice little segue into the Glazers. So if the Glazers, apparently they have a 300 million US bank loan that they can enact, right? Now, there could be a slight possibility that we could do it. But there'd be more of a possibility if the Glazers, I lost me notes, hold on, if the Glazers actually went and running the club. But unfortunately, they are. Now, would I love Kylian Mbappe at Manchester United in a fucking heartbeat? There's no question, right? You could have a front three of Rashford out on the left, Mbappe in the middle, and then whoever you decide is playing out on the right, and we have a wealth of riches in the forward wing position, right? So we could play anybody. Imagine that front three with a Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, Casemiro, and we don't know if he's playing a 4 or a 3 in midfield because he tries different things during pre-season. So we'll have to see what his tactic is going to be. But I take him. I would take him. If we could do that deal that way, I would take him. But I think it's absolutely rubbish. And I think the only team that can realistically do that deal is Real Madrid. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened in the transfer window. If we were to get Kylian Mbappe, bring it fucking on, I say, right? And then strip Mason Mount of the number 7 jersey and give it to fucking Kylian Mbappe. I doubt he's gone. He won't. No. See, the club have accepted the 300 million. But Kylian Mbappe can reject it because he's still under contract with PSG. So PSG's hands are tied. They're not in power in this situation. They can accept deals from all over Europe for Kylian Mbappe. If Kylian Mbappe doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, they can't force him to go to Saudi Arabia. He's under contract with PSG, so he could say to them, well, I'm under contract for another year. You can't force me out. And they can't force him out. And remember as well, right, Kylian Mbappe is a very popular French player, right? If PSG start acting the bollocks with him, and this is why they actually haven't, right? They're accepting these deals to try to force the issue, but they haven't actually, you know, the president has said, look, he's leaving, right? But they can't really force the issue. All the power is in Kylian Mbappe's hands. And if he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, he doesn't have to go to Saudi Arabia. So there's still a possibility for Real Madrid. A lot of people are saying, can Real Madrid afford them? Just like us. But we'll see. I would love him at United. Stranger things have happened. We'll keep an eye on it. But he's not going to Saudi Arabia. If he goes to Saudi Arabia, then the player himself should be ashamed of himself. He's a World Cup winner, isn't he? He won the World Cup, didn't he? And I know they were beaten by Argentina recently, but they did win the World Cup and he was in the team, wasn't he? So they won the World Cup. He's a World Cup winner. He's won, okay, people will argue about the French league being a farmers league, right? But he's won league titles there. He's won the domestic cup as well. Obviously, the Champions League is one thing. There's no way Kylian Mbappe goes to Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia are not in the Champions League. And I know for a fact that young players are that they want to win the Champions League. If he goes to Saudi Arabia, then something seriously has gone wrong with football. And then it means no play. Then it means if Kylian takes that, then he opens the door for other players to say, do you know what? If it's good enough for Kylian Mbappe, if it's good enough for Ronaldo, if it's good enough for Neves, if it's good enough for all these players that have went, then it's good enough for me. Bad, man. Bad. Very, very bad for future transfer, this Saudi Arabia nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous the amount of money that they're throwing about. But look, Premier League has been doing it for decades, is the argument. And it is a fair argument, so we have to be fair. But I just don't look at this I know what's going to happen. I can predict this, right? All those players will go there, then Saudi will be calling to be entered into the European circuit, and they'll want to get into the European, and then Conference League and Europa League will be available to them, and then if any of those teams win that, then they get into the Champions League then. But this is what's going to happen. Give it maybe it won't happen maybe overnight, but give it 2 or 3 years, and I guarantee there'll be calls for Saudi Arabia to enter the Europe. So he was asked about transfers. He was asked about Haaland. He just basically said, and it was with players leaving as well, Henderson and Elanga, and he gave the same answer. And the answer was, when we've got news, we will let you know. So, as you all know, Anthony Elanga, Henderson, there's been bids apparently made, and it looks like they might be on the way out of the club. Fred is another player that's rumoured to be gone as well. Also, obviously, we are linked to a couple of players out there at the moment. We seem to be... Look, we're getting business done. I know fans out there are impatient, but you've got to remember we've got a certain budget, right? Because these owners, which I'm going to get into now in a minute, the ownership hasn't been dealt with. So we don't know how much money realistically is available, right? But we do know that the Glazers do have this bank loan that they can enact. Now, they may do that and may decide to stay and wait till next summer to see if the new bidders come in. Because remember, we're in the Champions League, right? So if we do well in the Champions League, you know, the stock price is going to go up again. So the valuation is going to go up. So they can ask for a little bit more money. Because remember, at the end of the day, that's what they're all about. And this is, he was asked about the Glazers, about contact, as I said earlier, on in the stream. He can be in contact with them. He knows nothing about the takeover, obviously, is what he's saying to the press, but I suspect that the manager obviously does. But he spoke about transfers, and he spoke about, again, as he did last year, getting the right players in with the right mentality. But he said if he had any news, he'd let us know. He did say this, though, very interestingly enough. He said that the club is doing everything in their power to get the players in that he wants. Obviously, if it was up to him, he would like to have them all in now. But he says that he knows that's not always possible. And basically, managers said he adapts to the situation. He said it's not ideal not to have them all in pre-season, but he has got a couple of these players in, Onana and Mason Mount. And he was asked about Onana briefly, and he said Onana was doing very well. He didn't actually say if Onana would feature. And he said Mason Mount adds another attacking spark to the team, because he was asked about the lack of goals. Was it fair to rely on Rashford? He said, and do you think Rashford could keep up the pace of last season? He said that he expects Rashford to push on. And he says he will if he basically puts his head down and you know takes responsibility. So you know, he did say that other players had to chip in goals, and he said that Mason Mount would be key in unlocking that as well. So you got Bruno there and Mason Mount unlocking Bruno with his passes. As you know, Bruno can be delightful with his passes. And then you got Mason Mount again, another player like Bruno, a lot of energy and stuff like that. And, you know, hopefully Mason Mount doesn't get injured because, you know, we need those two ticking over. But he did say that getting players in was key, and the club is doing everything in their power to get them in. But as I said, if he had his way, he would have them in already, but so they can adapt and so that the team can implement his strategies, his tactics on the field. But he was hoping to get them in before, obviously, pre-season ends, and pre-season does go on for a couple of more weeks, so we still can get once the Haaland deal is done, I reckon we'll be in for a midfielder then, and then once that's done, I think that's all their business, unless United have a few tricks up their sleeve and they do wait until the last minute of the transfer window, or you never know. I doubt it, but you never know. In that time, we might actually have an official, here we go, Glazers are leaving Manchester United. But let's be honest, at this stage, we're kind of kidding ourselves, haven't we? I mean, look, it's awful. But you know what? We're doing deals. We seem to be getting the players that the manager wants. That's all we ever asked for the Glazers. I just wish they do it. I just wish the people that they had were a lot faster at doing deals, but maybe they can't. As I said, we've only got a certain amount of budget, and maybe the reason why there's a delay, and I'm not picking up for the Glazers here, I want them gone as much as everybody else, but let me explain this for a minute. People are saying the Haaland deal, because United keep saying they're ready to make a bid. and fans are saying Ready FC and all of this other nonsense. Have you not probably taken into account that while they've been doing deals, they've also been trying to get players out because they need the money in before they can make their next official bid? I'm just putting that out there. That's what seems to be the case here. And there has been talks of all of these players that are about to leave the club. Maybe they need the funds in, or the guaranteed funds coming in, before they could start making bids for Haaland and Amrabat and whoever else were linked to. I'm just putting that out there because, maybe the Glazers don't want to enact that 300 million loan unless it's absolutely necessary. So the manager is trying to work within what he has. And you know what? I think he's done well getting in Onana for the price he did. I think he overpaid. I think we definitely overpaid for Mason Mount. But that will balance itself out when we get the other two players in and see how much we pay for them. But interesting. So we did Onana, we did Elanga and Henderson. As I said, one squad will be gone to Houston, the first team squad, and the youth squad will be taken on Wrexham for that game, which we will be live for both games, guys. So come and join us for that. But that is Ten Hag's press conference in a nutshell. As I said, the American journalists were just basically, have you seen any of the places that you've been in? Erik Ten Hag then made a bit of a joke about the fact that he's seen it from the sky, from the aeroplane. He was also asked briefly about, did he see the Wrexham documentary and what did he think of Wrexham? He didn't see the documentary, but we played them last season, he said, and he knows about them, and he said that would be a tough game. And that's when one journalist did ask him, well, are you concerned about playing one game after another and fatigue and all the travelling? And he says, look, in the Premier League season, he says in the regular season, you're playing Premier League games, you're travelling all over the UK, then you're playing Champions League, European games, and then you're obviously playing the cup games as well, domestic cup games where you're travelling. So he said, no, it's vital. It's vital experience, especially for the academy players and stuff like that, and for the squad. Because remember, pre-season is not all about, just playing teams and just sorting out the tactics. It's getting fit, mentally strong, getting into that winning mentality, which we have. We've won 3 games out of 3 now, folks. I do expect us to beat Wrexham tomorrow. The Real Madrid game will be a bit trickier. I'm excited about that game, to be honest. I think we have improved. I think we have seen Erik Ten Hag's tactics slowly come to bear during the preseason games. Once he gets Onana in that goal now, which I reckon he'll definitely feature, I reckon, against Real Madrid. Once he gets Onana in goal, and then Onana can actually play those balls out and keep the ball and, is good with his feet. He will make mistakes Onana, there's no doubt. He will drive Manchester United fans up the wall. But it's going to be exciting to see this new era because we've had a legend, in my opinion, in David De Gea. And his era, a lot of people, near the end were very critical of David De Gea. We know he made mistakes, but overall, his era, he's a legend. He saved us some amount of points in some games. Some of those saves that he has made throughout the years, absolutely wonderful goalkeeper. Legend, deserves the status, and but we move on. And Onana now is the new goalkeeper, and let's see, every United fan unfortunately gets sucker punched into this thing. They look at clips of Onana and stuff like that, and they've watched him in some games, and they think he's great goalkeeper, right? There's no doubt that Onana is a great goalkeeper, but here's the problem. Manchester United have had great goalkeepers in the past, and the pressures of being United goalkeeper has gotten to them. So it's all well and good having the skill set. Will Onana be able to handle the pressure of being a Manchester United goalkeeper? And the manager certainly thinks that he can. So if the manager thinks he can, let's say give him a chance like we do with every other. Look at, I didn't want us to sign Mason Mount, but he's here. He's a Manchester United player. I will support him. I'm not really a fan of us bringing in Haaland either, right? Because I think a young player that has one good season, yes, he's banking a couple of goals for his national team. That's great, right? But I think you need more than one season under your belt. But that's who Ten Hag wants. I will back the manager. Simple as that. If he's looking at Amrabat, yeah, okay, maybe not my type of player, but it's the player that the manager wants. I will back the manager. At the end of the day, Ten Hag has made me believe in this team again. He's made me fall in love with Manchester United all over again. It's just a pity that we're run by a bunch of clowns. And just finally, before we do head off, let's talk about those clowns, the Glazers. Avram has been at a couple of games over the last few months. And I get a funny feeling that that's an indicator to me that they're not going anywhere. Now, I think they'll hold out. I think they'll sell next year. But I don't know what's happened with Sheikh Jazim. I don't know what happens with Sir Jim. But what I do know is, and I think a lot of United fans need to grasp the reality of the situation, neither of those bids come close to what the Glazers want for the club because they're greedy. Now, Manchester United is worth between 3.5 to 4.5 billion max, right? But they want 6. And they're not going to go anywhere until they get 6. So it makes no difference. I see a lot of fans saying, "I don't buy the jersey" and all of this. It makes no difference whether you buy the jersey or not. It actually really doesn't at this stage. It doesn't matter if you walk out of Old Trafford and empty Old Trafford. It doesn't matter if you protest. You could do all of that. And I say to the fans that do that, fair play to you. But you're wasting your time. You've done it since they took over the club and they're still here. The Glazers will leave when the Glazers are ready to leave. Now, they've said that they want 6 billion. And until they get 6 billion, they're going nowhere. Now, if they haven't received 6 billion from either bid, they will hold out and they'll wait till next year, see how we do this season. Right, if we get back into the Champions League again and we finish in the top 4, let's just say it again, right? And we win a domestic cup or 2, hopefully, right? Then the value of the club goes up in their eyes and they'll want their 6 billion to be hoping that they'll be new. See, this is the whole thing. The Glazers were probably hoping for a lot more bidders to come in, right? But you don't realise we've only gotten over a pandemic and all that other nonsense. So cash is a bit tight unless you're super rich, like Sheikh Jazim. There's not many of them out there, right, that can compete. But Sheikh Jazim is not going to overpay either. He's made that clear. So we're at a stalemate here. Glazers want 6 billion. Sheikh Jazim's not going to overpay, which is rightly so. And some people say, well, he should just pay the money. Why should he? There should be a law against this, right? We know the club should be sold at the value that the club is worth, right? Okay, not any more than that. This is just pure greed. So until they get their 6 billion, they're going nowhere. And as far as I'm concerned, all of these accounts that keep saying, "Oh, it's going to get done, it's going to get done," don't be listening to them. Right? I've stopped listening to them. The only thing that's going to make you do is going to make you angry. What your focus should be now is supporting this team and supporting their manager. Right? When the sale is done, it's done. Right now, as far as I'm aware, the manager is getting the players that he wants in. Right? Now, if they're the players that he wants in, as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with that. because the manager got what he wanted. Now, it'd be a different story if the manager wasn't getting the players that he did want, that he didn't ask for, and he went for it like he did with Jose Mourinho and other managers. But it seems like that this manager is getting what he wants, right? So it pains me to say I want them gone more than anybody else, right? I want their club just to be taken over by someone that shows that they care. I want this team to do well and to dominate, right? But nah, sure, even Elon Musk wouldn't buy Manchester United. Sure, he wouldn't know what to do with it. Sure, he'd start charging fan subscriptions and all. Fuck off, Elon Musk. No, not Apple. No way. Right? I want the corporation or someone that owns a corporation like that, a social media platform running their club. Right? We're already commercial enough as it is. It'll go way stupid then. No, we need someone that cares. Right? If Sir Jim Ratcliffe wasn't messing around and actually had the money, I'd back him. But then we've seen what he's done with his club in France, and it's not very good. So I don't want him anywhere near the club. And as for Sheikh Jassim, I don't want them either. But at the end of the day, they're the only two bids. So I've got to pick between the two bids. But Sheikh Jassim wants to clear the debt and buy the club straight out. And those greedy Americans want to stay. They want more money. And now all of a sudden, Avram Glazer is turning up everywhere. In fairness to him, though, out of all the Glazer siblings, he's always kind of, not always, he hasn't been at every final that we've gotten to, but out of all of them, he's turned up most. And I suspect deep down, he looks at United more than a business than the rest of them do. But he's overruled. He's like, there's 6 of them or something in the family, so they're not all agreeing, And that's apparently what's happened as well. They're split. Some want to sell the club and some don't. And that's another thing as well. And I think all this Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe thing, when they saw there was only 2 credible bids coming in, then they were kind of stuck. And instead of actually just pulling out and saying, nah, we'll wait, we'll hold the club for another year, they've dragged this process out. And watch, if the end game is that they're going to announce that they're going to stay, fans are going to be angry. Whereas if they had to come out straight away and said, look, bottom line is we haven't got preferred bidders that we like, so we're going to stay until we do. Yes, fans will argue, fans will protest, fans will be angry. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't be going through all of this nonsense now, wondering whether the club is being sold or not. It's sad. But hopefully there is some news on the horizon, but I doubt it, folks. I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but I'm looking forward to the season regardless. I think Ten Hag is building something really beautiful. And, we get those final pieces in the jigsaw that he wants. Then I think we're going to do well this season. I don't want to jump the gun, but we'll finish ahead of Arsenal. And I know that game was only pre-season, but I don't think that the players that Arsenal have brought in are going to elevate Arsenal any further. Declan Rice was schooled by a Manchester United academy player. This is a player that apparently is worth 105 million. An academy player kept him quiet. Arsenal get a few injuries as well. Yes, they've beefed up their squad a bit, but it's still not good enough. That squad with the few additions that they've made is still going to fall short. And we'll finish ahead of them. Not a bother. I believe that. I genuinely believe with the manager that we have, what he's instilled into those players and what he'll instill into the new players, and with that goalkeeper as well, right? We got a proper spine then when we get a proper number 9, right? We're gonna be decent. We're gonna be decent. We're gonna be hard to beat. We're going to play beautiful football. We're going to control games more, which is more important, and most importantly as well, kill games off a lot faster, because we get 2 or 3 goals in the first half of the game, then the manager then, as he said then, that's when he can make his substitutions and stuff, get players off them, wrap them up in cotton wool, make sure they don't get injured. And that's why he's boosting up and he's keeping certain players, because that's exactly what he wants to do. So he wants us to get those early goals. I've been even seeing him at pre-season in the 3 games that we watched here on this channel. I've noticed they focused on Erik Ten Hag on the sideline. And he gets very animated and gets very angry. You know, even when there's a misplaced pass. For Tom Heaton, when Tom Heaton gave that lovely ball to obviously then start that goal, to get that goal for who was it, Bruno, wasn't it? The manager praised Tom Heaton, right? But I've seen the manager, he gets very animated, he's shouting out instructions, you know, he doesn't let up on these players. This to him, he takes nothing. He takes nothing as friendly. And the players have got that instilled into them. There is no friendly games. Even against Wrexham, it's not a friendly game. But keep that winning mentality. That's what it's all about. I don't think Arsenal are going to do much. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a United fan. The players got schooled by some of their academy players. I mean, the teams that Erik Ten Hag has played, he hasn't actually played, if you look at all of the squads, he hasn't played his strongest 11 yet. He's experimented to put players in different academy players in the first team, then, you know, some of the fringe players in the academy team with the academy players in the second half. It's fascinating to watch. It's fascinating to watch. I love it. But we'll see what happens. I can't wait for the season. I'm not as doom and gloom as most fans. I'm actually really looking forward to the season. I just wish that the ownership was dealt with, so then, you know, we wouldn't have that hanging over our heads and we could finally just move on from this Glazer era. But I suspect it's going to go on a little bit longer. But we'll have to wait and see. But as I said, nothing really much about Real Madrid. Just basically 2 iconic teams playing at a great stadium. As I said, because the American journalists just kept focusing on, so how did you find America and all this? They didn't really ask any footballing questions. So by the time they got to the Real Madrid part of the press conference, there was nothing. So that's it. That was the press conference for Wrexham and Real Madrid. Some very interesting insight from our manager, what he expects from the academy players. We're still doing deals, and he has said basically he will let us know when there are players out and there are players in. But he right now he says that the club are working hard behind the scenes to get these deals done. So hopefully the next time we speak to you, we might have a here we go, or at least an official bid for Haaland, and then we will see where we go from there. But some media reports are already suggesting that they're on the verge of deal being done, and that the Amrabat deal is already close to being completed. But then credible sources out there, I mean, I don't know if you can call them credible, because even some of these credible journalists said that the Glazers were gone, and that hasn't been the case. But some credible journalists out there have said that that's all nonsense, and that Manchester United are preparing a bid for Haaland and nothing on Amrabat. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I suspect what's happening is like what all Man United fans know at this stage. Our club is, unfortunately, we used to be able to do multiple deals, but not anymore. We do a deal at a time. And I suspect the reason why deals are being delayed and bids are being delayed is that the club, every time they're buying a player, I think they're scrambling to sell a few players so they could bring in the next player, have that guaranteed funds. I think that's the way the Glazers are probably doing it. until you can guarantee some money in. We're not going to release any more money until you do that. And I suspect that's what's happening. As I said, until this ownership is cleared up, this is the way we're going to do business. And we've done that for years now. So nothing's going to change. We just have to hope that they get in all the players before the season starts, or at least a week before the season starts. At least get some of these players into the bloody squad and interacting with each other, because what will end up happening is Ten Hag, like he did with Casemiro and other players when he first brought them in, he eased them in. He didn't play them straight away. And to be quite honest, we don't want that, because we want them to be playing the strongest 11. You know what I mean? And these players that he's bringing in are starters. So, he needs them in ASAP. But let's see what he does. But look, folks, thank you for joining me. As I said, we will be here for the Wrexham game, and then we will be covering the Real Madrid game. We'll be covering all pre-season. We'll be covering all these press conferences. And then, of course, then when the regular season starts back, our first game against Wolves, we will be streaming. We'll be talking team news. We'll be doing press conferences for that. We will be covering everything. And we will be doing live match reactions, which we have been doing during pre-season. So I just want to thank everybody that watched the last stream, our game against Arsenal. We got over 500 views on that stream, and obviously a few people obviously subscribe to the channel. It'd be great that everybody that watches, if you could support a fellow Manchester United fan by subscribing, I would really appreciate it. As I said, we're going to be covering all the pre-season, and I will have me away jersey soon. So, I'll have the home and away jersey. I'm not buying getting the 3 kits, but I have to choose whether I'm getting the green and white one, which everybody keeps slagging off, or if I'm going to get the white one. But more than likely, I'll get the green and white one and not the white one. But we'll see. It will depend. So yeah, I'll have to look at the two of them face to face, see what happens. But yes, I will have another jersey to go with watch alongs as well. So yeah, I'm not buying the 3. It's too expensive. I mean, this was £100 because it's the same one as the players. You can get the other one that they have with the fake crap on it, but this is actually what the players wear, so it costs a little bit extra. So and it'll be the same with the away jersey, because I don't buy knockoffs, and I don't buy the cheap ones that they have in the sports shop. If you're gonna buy, you can get the 2 types. You see, so they give you the cheaper version that you could buy, but you wash it in the washing machine, your logo ends up ripping off. And then you can get the authentic one that the players wear, and you pay an extra 30-40 quid for that, unfortunately. But it's the one, as I said, the players actually wear. So I'd rather that. So that's what I've done. Anyway, we'll see you for the next one. And as I said, this is why I don't do the transfer news, because Erik Ten Hag covered it. We're not, until there's anything to actually, comment on, we'll throw it up as a YouTube short. But I haven't done a YouTube short in ages, because we did the Tellez thing. He's only left now, and we did that Tellez short about a week ago. So again, these journalists, they just, I don't think they've been credible this year. To be quite honest with you, I think a lot of them have got it wrong. And especially over this, I don't think the Glazer selling has helped most of these journalists, but I'm very cautious who I believe now, to be quite honest, because a lot of them have got it wrong. But anyway, we'll be back for the next one. Enjoy. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We're also on Twitter at Noel the Red Devil, if you want to follow me there. If not, subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Leave a comment let me know what you think, and we will talk to you guys very soon. Thank you, Daniel, for popping in the chat, and I will talk to everybody over on the other channel very soon. Have a good one, folks. See you soon. Bye bye.